You ever noticed how a car has a specific way of clearing its throat when it's unhappy? It's not a knock, it's not a bang. It's just this rhythmic hesitation, like it's trying to remember the lyrics to a song it's heard 1,000 times but keeps tripping over the chorus.
That's a very poetic way of saying your truck sounded like a lawnmower losing a fight with a bag of wet leaves this morning. I heard you pulling into the lot. It was noticeable.
It was embarrassing. That's what it was. But it's the perfect kickoff for today because that throat clearing is usually the engine's way of begging for a tune-up. We're diving into the oily bits of ignition timing and the modern day mystery of what a tune-up actually means anymore.
Right, because if I walk into a dealership today and ask for a tune-up, the kid behind the counter looks at me like I just asked him to shoe a horse. Everything is sensors and software now. Is the tune-up basically dead?
It's not dead, it just went to finishing school. Back when I started, a tune-up was a literal orchestration. You were adjusting the carburetor, swapping out breaker points, which for the kids listening are these tiny little metal flaps that look like something out of a clock, and you were physically setting the timing. You were making the air, the fuel, and the spark shake hands at exactly the right microsecond. If you got it wrong, the car would sneeze through the intake or kick like a mule when you tried to start it.
And now, every time I look under my hood, it's just a giant plastic cover that says V6 and basically warns me that I'm too stupid to touch anything.
They do make it look like a sealed tomb, don't they? But underneath that plastic ego cover, the physics haven't changed. Engines still need to breathe, they still need juice, and they still need to explode things in a very specific order. Today, a tune-up is more of a holistic health check. We're talking spark plugs, filters, looking for cracked hoses that are sucking in unmeasured air, what we call vacuum leaks, and making sure your fluids haven't turned into chocolate syrup.
Okay, let's start with the heart of it. Spark plugs. I've seen people pull plugs out that look like they've been sitting at the bottom of the ocean for 20 years. How does a little piece of ceramic and metal cause so much drama?
Think of the spark plug as the lightning bolt in the localized thunderstorm of your cylinder. Over time, that tiny gap where the spark jumps gets wider as the metal wears away, or it gets coated in carbon. When that happens, the coil has to work twice as hard to bridge that gap. Eventually, the spark gets lazy. It doesn't show up to the party on time, or it doesn't show up at all. That's your misfire. That's the stutter you feel when you're trying to pass someone on the highway.
So you just swap them out and you're golden? Or is there a way to mess that up? Because knowing you, there's a story about a stripped thread somewhere in your past.
Oh, you have no idea. Listen, if there is a way to turn a 20-minute job into a 3-day existential crisis, I found it. I once cross-threaded a plug into an aluminum head because I was in a rush and used a power ratchet. I felt that pop and my stomach just hit the floor. It's like watching a vase fall in slow motion. You can't unring that bell.
So the lesson is, be gentle with the lightning sticks?
Hand thread them until they're seated. Always. Treat it like you're threading a needle in the dark. If it doesn't spin in like butter, something is wrong. Stop. Breathe. Try again.
What about filters? The AutoZone guide says that's part of the modern tune-up. It seems a bit entry-level, but I guess if the car can't breathe, it can't run.
It's the easiest performance gain you'll ever find. I've seen air filters so clogged with dandelion fluff and highway grit that the engine was basically trying to breathe through a wet wool blanket. You swap that out for a fresh one, and suddenly the throttle feels like it's actually connected to the engine again. Same goes for fuel filters, though those are getting harder to reach on newer cars.
Okay, let's get to the black magic part. Ignition timing. You mentioned a timing light earlier. I saw one in the back of your truck. It looks like a sci-fi ray gun from the 60s.
It basically is a ray gun. It's a strobe light. To understand why we need it, you have to realize that the spark doesn't actually happen when the piston is at the very top of its climb. If you wait until then, the explosion happens too late to push the piston back down with any real authority.
So you're saying we have to start the fire before the piston gets there?
Exactly, it's called advance. You want that fire to start growing just as the piston is finishing its upward journey, so the peak pressure of the explosion hits right when the piston is ready to be shoved down. If you're too early, the explosion tries to push the piston backward. That's pinging or detonation. It sounds like a bag of marbles being shaken inside your engine. It'll punch a hole right through a piston if you let it go long enough.
And the light shows you this. How? It's dark in there.
Not in the cylinder, but on the crankshaft pulley. There are little notches, marks that represent degrees of rotation. You clip the timing light to the number one spark plug wire. Every time that plug fires, the light flashes. If you point that strobe at the spinning pulley, the light freezes the pulley in place. You can literally see where those marks are lining up against a pointer on the engine block while it's running. It's a beautiful bit of visual trickery.
I bet there's a safety second story here too. You're pointing a light at a spinning belt and a fan while the engine is hot. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, modern electric fans are great because they stay still until they're needed. But on old trucks like mine, that metal fan is spinning at 2,000 RPM right next to your knuckles. I once had a timing light lead get caught in the fan belt. It didn't just break the wire, it yanked the light out of my hand and threw it across the garage like a disgruntled frisbee. I spent the next hour picking plastic shards out of my hair and questioning my life choices.
See, this is why I like sensors. The computer handles the timing, and I keep my hands and my dignity.
True, but the computer can only do so much. Even on a modern car, the base timing has to be right. And if your timing belt or chain has stretched, which happens over 100,000 miles, the computer is constantly trying to compensate for mechanical lag. It's like trying to run a race where your shoes are 2 sizes too big. You can do it, but you're going to be clumsy.
So, if I'm a listener and I want to tune up my 10-year-old daily driver this weekend, where do I actually start? Give me the checklist that doesn't involve throwing a timing light across the room.
Start with the vitals check. Open the hood and look for anything that looks tired. If a rubber hose feels crunchy or looks like it has alligator skin cracks, replace it. Those are vacuum leaks waiting to happen. Then, pull one spark plug, just one. Look at the tip. Is it light tan? That's a healthy engine. Is it oily or black? You've got Bob's bigger problems. If it looks okay, but the gap is huge, go get a fresh set.
And the hidden stuff? The things people skip because they're boring?
The PCV valve, it costs about $5 and looks like a little plastic elbow. If it gets stuck, your engine builds up internal pressure and starts blowing oil past the seals. It's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever buy. And for heaven's sake, check your battery terminals. If they look like they're growing blue moss, clean them off with some baking soda and water. Your ignition system can't make healthy sparks if it's fighting through a layer of corrosion just to get power.
It sounds like the tune-up is really just an exercise in paying attention. It's about listening to that throat clearing before it turns into a full-blown cough.
Well put. It's about not being a stranger to your own machine. We spend so much time behind the wheel, but so little time looking under the lid. When you spend an hour on a Saturday just cleaning connections and swapping filters, you're not just maintaining a car, you're learning its language. You start to notice when a belt is squeaking just a half step out of tune.
And hopefully, you don't end up throwing any tools across the garage.
No promises there, but even the mistakes teach you something. Usually, they teach you exactly how much a new radiator costs after you drop a wrench into the old one.
I think the takeaway for me today is that tuning isn't just for mechanics with 40 years of grease under their nails. It's for anyone who wants their stuff to last. It's the difference between owning a tool and just using it.
Spot on. My old man used to say that an engine is just a big air pump that wants to stay alive. All we're doing is making it easy for it to do its job. Give it clean air, give it a hot spark at the right moment, and it'll carry you across the country without a second thought.
Just watch out for the fan blades.
Yeah, especially the fan blades. They don't have a sense of humor.